Weenie, can you hear me? Hello.
Ween dog.
Can you hear DC? The Weenster. Weenicus MD. You can? Okay.
Medical weenie.
The reason I'm asking is because I updated my PCs to Windows 11 and it defaulted all of my fucking audio. So I hope everything is fine now. I did a couple of tests. We did a couple of tests before we went live and everything. So hopefully nothing breaks. Minus me not being able to open the Xbox app. I wonder if I can open it on my stream PC. Let's see, guys. Actually, I'm curious. Because I can't play Xbox games on my PC right now because the app is broken. Oh, it's broken on my PC too, on my stream PC. Sweet. Hey, Xbox, get your shit together, man. I hate the Xbox app. I hate this fucking Game Pass app. I do.
It's so stupid.
It's fucking awful. It's absolutely
You would
awful.
think like, why?
Yeah, it's awful. Anywho, hope you had a good weekend, man. A good week, excuse me. I know I said I was going to get on this week, but life had other plans for your boy. Just catching haymakers all day at work, and I didn't get much chance to study while I was at work, so I just kind of took the evenings to do that. But I hope you had a good week, man. Hope you had a good, nice, productive, slow week, and, you know, you got a hand job or something. I don't fucking know, man. I just hope you had a good one. I don't know. Whatever makes you happy, man. Sorry.
Oh, hell yeah. We on 10? That's what we on?
Nah, we're not on 10. Sorry.
No, fuck that. Yeah.
Oh, you got another raise. So you did get one from your job. Hell yeah.
Mr. Handy, huh?
That's a work hand job. That's what we're going to call that. Not a handy.
Work job. Hopefully they not giving you a hand job at work.
Metaphorical hand job.
Metaphorically.
Because he said he got a raise, so that's awesome, man. Congrats. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, we're going to get started, man. Not going to delay too much. Got some fun, interesting stuff to talk about today. And yeah, we're gonna have a nice little stream after. Gonna play a new game. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's called Apex.
We're back on that crack, baby.
Just don't judge me, chat. I can't help it, man.
She's like the college girl.
Crazy college girlfriend, man. Can't fucking get rid of her even if you want to.
Just put her. Yeah, look, you send her away and she's back.
Yeah, telling you. All right. Hello. Welcome to episode 205, Feeling Alive of the Super Weapon Podcast, most overpowered podcast on the internet. It's your boy, Darius the Artist, and as always, got my co-host DC here with me today.
What up, though, to everybody who's not touching anyone inappropriately?
Oh, jeez.
Let's go. Nah, fuck that. Let's keep it clean, guys.
Check the stock of baby oil. I wonder if it's gone up or down.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Sorry.
Slip and slide in your back. Never mind.
Yeah, sorry. All jokes aside, man.
What up, though? Everybody. How y'all doing?
Happy Saturday, man. All jokes aside, don't be a creep don't be a creep. Don't sexualize people. Don't racketeer. And don't be a terrible person, and you won't go to jail for the rest of your life.
Can I throw something extra in?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, go right ahead.
Hey, if you're on the internet, ladies, and you open your DMs to questions like on Instagram with your little Instagram stories, don't. Because 90% of the people are going to be freaking creeps. Y'all know this. 90% of the people are going to ask sexually driven questions. They're going to be weird. They're going to be freaks. And yeah, ladies, just be safe. Don't do it. Don't open your inbox to the weirdos and men have some goddamn decorum.
Man, I keep my
shit.
My DMs closed, not for that reason, like I was getting harassed, but it's either bots, AI bots asking, "Hey man, do you want to buy some crypto?" or I get a random graphic designer trying to design elements for the stream or something like. So I closed all that. But yeah, happy Saturday, man. Hope you guys are having a good day, man. Pretty fun episode we got planned for y'all. We took a look at a couple of games, got some Nintendo news, and no, we're not going to be talking about the Switch leaks. I did see those, But until I see more information about it, it's just kind of like a 9. I don't think it's super interesting to talk about. I mean, we know the Switch 2 is coming, so hopefully we'll get some sort of confirmation.
Like
you know, like hopefully we'll get official confirmation. I'm thinking it's either going to be at the VGAs in December, or maybe sometime early next year. We'll see it. But you know, first things first, man. I want to talk a little bit about some EA today because you know,
in the game,
we've been pretty critical of EA around here over the last couple of years, but I really feel like they're starting to kind of turn a corner with some of the decisions that they're making. And the main game I did want to talk about today was Dragon Age The VeilGuard. You know, when this game first when we got that first gameplay trailer a couple of months ago, you know, I was super fucking unimpressed, if we're just being completely honest. You know, I thought the game looked clunky, just not interesting in any shape or form. And, you know, I know you've played a couple of them before. I've never played Dragon Age, but, you know, this past week, EA, they either brought out a bunch of creators or they gave them access to play the game for, I think, about 6 hours, which is a pretty big chunk of time for a game preview. And a lot of the impressions and stuff that I've seen have been pretty positive. And even like the gameplay and stuff that I've seen myself looks actually pretty interesting, which, you know, I can admit, I don't want to say I was wrong, but I just think their first showing of the game wasn't the best. But this game actually has my attention now, man. And I don't know if you've seen any of the later, like any of the latest stuff that they've shown, or if you're like interested in this game at all.
So this is my thing about Dragon Age, where I kind of had a rough experience with it. Story wise, amazing. I forgot which one I had. Shit.
Was it Inquisition? Was it the one that was the last one you played? Right? Because I think I remember, because it came out around the time that Witcher did. I think it came out the same year that Witcher 3 did, if I remember.
And it was an amazing game, but my problem with the game that I had that made me kind of fall out of love with it was you had to control 4 players, right?
Yeah.
And keeping all of them alive was just such a hassle to me. And it's probably because I'm not used to that type of game mechanic, because this was around the time when I was first coming out of my shell, as far as it goes, as like trying new games and stuff out. So this was my first time kind of playing a game like that, where you had to like, it wasn't turn-based, you know what I'm saying? Like turn-based would be easy to control 4 people, you know, but this game, you're in the mix. You gotta, as you progressed in the game, the battles became obviously more difficult, right?
Yeah.
So kind of controlling 4 people and dealing with difficult battles was a little bit overwhelming for me at the time. I do want to revisit that now, because I feel like with the expansion of my game palette, like I've learned so much. I feel like I do so much better playing the game now.
Yeah.
But I do think that the game overall, right, was a great game. I just didn't know how to play it at the time. So with this one, with a more clear understanding, I don't know if it's going to be set up the same way where you have 4 people and you're controlling all of them in combat and stuff like that. But I say that to say that I am interested in the game. I definitely want to see where it goes. So I do have my eyes open for this one. And I was looking at a video. They were talking about the character creator. I did check that out last night, and a few other videos. I'm very, very, very big on character creating. I'm one of those. I'll spend, I think the length of time I've spent in a character creator, probably a record of 4 hours one time. I can't remember what game it was, but like, I want to see all the options. I want to see all the hair options. Every option that you have, I want to see all of it.
Yeah.
Then I want to decide if I'm going to make the person look like me, or if I'm going to make it look like, you know, whatever catastrophe I could come up with, just depending on just depending on how silly I am or how I feel. Like, sometimes I'll just create this wonky, goofy looking character. Then sometimes I go for like, oh, maybe I could make somebody that looks like me. Then I always go over to the black hair to see if they got the Killmonger, because that's the first thing I'm a bitch about, right? So you got to make sure that's in there. So Yeah,
Oh God.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm liking everything that I see so far. I did watch another video, and I think it's a change of pace from the things that I've been playing. So definitely want to keep my eye on this one and see where it goes. It looks great, and I think people who looking for that RPG, who needs that RPG itch like me, I'm hoping this could be what I'm looking for, because we had like Final Fantasy and stuff come and go. For me, I'm speaking for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know it was like a great hit for everybody, but I peeped it out and I was just like, okay, this is cool. I don't know if I want to buy this yet. I've just been kind of playing around in the RPG world, trying to figure out what I want.
It's so funny that you mentioned that. Like, we can talk about Final Fantasy for a second. Like, it just as a whole. I think where we have a couple of friends, like, shout out to Weenie in chat. He's played Final Fantasy 16 and he really enjoyed it. And I've seen our good friend Darkstar. There's actually been like a little bit of conversation
about the combat,
about not just necessarily the combat, but which game between the last two entries between 15 and 16 is quote unquote either the more enjoyable or better game. And I think the thing for me when it comes to Japanese, I guess, JRPG style games, or they originated like that, right? Like Final Fantasy originated like it's like a typical JRPG turn-based combat. I think that's probably like my biggest gripe with the later games outside of like the remakes, outside of Final Fantasy 7 remakes, where it looks more kind of like action oriented versus something turn based. And I don't know if I would enjoy Final Fantasy in that light. I wouldn't know, I guess, until I played it. But I think the thing that's really cool to me, that this game, like VeilGuard, kind of does. It looks like a mix between like turn based and action oriented combat, especially when you have companions, like you kind of mentioned. I'm not sure the upper limit of companions you can have with you at one time, but this game definitely reminds me a lot of. I'm seeing a lot of shades of like Mass Effect in this game in terms of like combat and everything. Where and if you guys are listening, audio listeners, we're watching like this gameplay preview right now, and you can freeze time essentially and give your companions like actions to do. And I really enjoy that style of combat.
Turn based is
right.
Almost, and that's what I like about it, because contrary to popular belief, you would think someone like me would like the fast paced RPG action type combat. Yeah. And in my RPGs, I really don't. Like, I feel like if I want that, I would play God of War or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
and that's just that's just what I grew up on. I grew up on the old JRPG, turn-based. And so it's like what they're doing here, where you can kind of pause it a little bit and kind of cut into the
survey the battlefield. And yeah, absolutely.
I think they learned what I just said about Inquisition. I think they learned from that.
Yeah.
Because Inquisition, you got to keep, as you're playing, you're selecting through your characters, and you got to make them do stuff, and there's so much going on the field in the later levels of the game. It's looking like what they did on here was a little course correction, because they kind of slow it down a little bit so you can kind of control your other players and things don't get too chaotic. And if that's the case, then I may be all in on this one. It's looking like it might be a go for me, but I have to see more.
Yeah, because, I mean, man, like, BioWare's been one of those studios that have been around for such a long time in the industry. And, for a long time, they kind of lost their way with the things that were, I guess, like, in the BioWare DNA. Or I feel like every, like, studio has their own kind of flavor when it comes to making games. And I feel like, BioWare really kind of stepped away from that, just like you were talking about with Inquisition and how that was kind of a big departure from the type of game that Dragon Age fans came to expect, as well as like Mass Effect Andromeda, which was just awful. Like, if we're just being completely honest, I
that was a thing.
Yeah, and, for me, man, like Mass Effect is that's my favorite RPG series like ever. Like Mass Effect 1 through 3.
And I understand why. And I just want to say that all the hype that game got, it was well deserved.
Yeah,
I understand the hype. I finally get it because I've played it. Because when everybody was telling me about Mass Effect, right? The Mass Effect hype train, I was like, all right, this was around when Andromeda was about to come out. I was like, all right, I'm falling for the hype. I'm going to get Andromeda. I bought that shit, man. And I said, this can't be your champion, right?
It was such a disappointment, man. I never even finished the game. Like, I made it, I think, 1/3 of the way through the game, and I just couldn't take it anymore. It was bad. It was such a bad departure. Game. And, that was back when EA was really kind of pushing that monetization. They were taking a really hard left from the stuff that people really loved about the games that they made. And I think they've realized over the years that those were mistakes, and I'm glad that they gave BioWare the time to develop this game, because I believe this game was supposed to come out last year, and it was all these kind of rumors and stuff about what the game was supposed to be is it's like holistically different from what they've presented to people. And people are even going as far as to say this is their Mass Effect 2 moment. And for those that don't understand what that means, like Mass Effect 1, if we're being completely honest, did not age well. Like, it is a rough game to go back and play, especially when you move on to the second game, when they take a lot of those elements that we were just talking about, where you have the ability to kind of freeze time for a second to look around. You can command your companions to either take cover, do certain actions, heal. Like, you didn't have a lot of that refined control.
As a person who played it recently,
yeah.
Yes.
It did not age well.
Because part one, I was like, no, because the story was compelling, right?
Right.
The story on part one kept me in there. And I was like, this is a little bit of a rough playthrough, but the story is so good. I got through it. And then when I got to part two, it was like, oh my God, like the game really opens up as far as the controls and everything. And I was like, okay, I see where the Mass Effect hype comes from. It is well deserved.
Yeah,
it's well deserved.
And I
love everything about it.
It's just like what we were talking about. I think it was last episode, where you have IP or games that aren't allowed to grow into sequels. They're not given the room to expand their ideas after a first game, especially if a game doesn't do super well. And I'm not saying that Mass Effect 1 didn't do well, but a lot of times nowadays we have games that come out, and developers, if you guys ever like listen or watch like interviews from developers, they always talk about things that they wish they could have put into the game, or either because of time, resources, or like scope. They decided to omit certain things that sometimes, or how it used to be, those ideas would make it into the next game, and it would build upon the base of the game, and things would get better. And I think that VeilGuard was allowed to, like I said, have that breathing room. And I feel like they went back and looked at a lot of the things that made BioWare successful in the first place. And I really hope that this game does well. I think I might end up picking this up, honestly, or at least playing it on EA Play. Because EA Play Pro is like $15 a month, and I believe this game is going to be on the service like when it launches sometime in October. I think it launches early or mid-October. I forget the date off the top of my head, but like I said, I think this is like a much better showing. Somebody who's never played Dragon Age myself, like, I'm not really too in tune with the story, because I think there are some elements from previous games that kind of build up into this game. But from what people are saying, there's like, I think they do the thing where if like with Mass Effect, if you started with 2 and never played 1, at the beginning of Mass Effect 2, they'll kind of lead you through these like story cards where you can make decisions on like some of the most important things that happen in those games. And because I thought, I told myself, man, I should go back and play Inquisition, just like you mentioned, but I wouldn't finish it before this game come out, and I know I wouldn't. So I think I might just jump into this one just completely blind, don't know. Yeah, they've kind of been hitting at that, right? Yeah. So they've kind of been saying like you don't necessarily need to do that, and I feel like I don't, just to enjoy the game. Like, just like you mentioned, like the character creator looks really great, like hair and stuff. Winnie said it in chat. We talk about it all the time, being African American men. The representation of hair is important to us, because we don't always have the ability to make characters that represent us, or just like you said, if you want to make a character that's exactly like you, sometimes you don't have the options to do that in games, and you're kind of stuck with what you got. but it looks like they took a lot of care into making this successful. And I want this game to do well because they're working on the next Mass Effect game. And I want this game to do good so they can, they're like, okay, people like this.
So the studio don't get shut down.
So the studio doesn't get closed. Right. I would love to see Mass Effect 4 or whatever it's going to be called. That's what I'm really, really waiting on from BioWare. But I feel like they're really starting to kind of get back into their groove. And, this game just looks good, man. Like, it looks fun. Like I said, this was a pleasant surprise for me. This went from like not
just
being
off the radar, not even being on the radar,
completely not caring to I need to play this game. And just like you said, I've kind of been feeling that same itch for an RPG style game, and I think this really might do well between this and Assassin's Creed that comes out in November. Like, I think I'm gonna be good on like RPG games for a good while, man. Like this looks excellent. So yeah, absolutely.
So you consider Assassin's Creed an RPG game?
Oh, 100% it is. Especially now with, they give you skill trees and, weapons have stats. Weapons and armor have stats in Assassin's Creed now. Like, they started kind of leaning into that with Origins, the one where you were in Egypt, but now they've gone like full blown, like, the latter couple of games, they've really gone like full blown into RPG status. And I mean, that looks great too. That game looks excellent too, despite all the hatred that people are giving a certain character in the game.
That game's gonna do numbers. Controversy sells. Guarantee you that's gonna be one of the better Assassin's Creeds we've seen in a while.
I think so. I think so too. And you're right, Winnie. I don't have to get this when it comes out, but I want to, and that's rare for me nowadays. It's a lot of times I'll say that I'll be like, I can play this later. It looks really great, but I think I really want to get this, either day one or sometime around the release date. I think this will be a fun game to play this fall. So please let us know what you guys think, man. If you guys are interested in this at all, I think it looks fun. I would love to talk to people. If you guys are Dragon Age fans and stuff about the lore, or hey, this doesn't make sense because of this or whatever, man, I would love to talk about. Like, I love talking about like lore in like games and stuff. Like, it's always interesting to me. Like, I've learned a lot about Warhammer over the last couple of weeks. And I had no idea how awful that universe is.
Yeah, Warhammer's a wreck.
How dark it is. My gosh, man. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a definite pickup for me, man. This looks like a lot of good fun. So, yeah, it's Dragon Age, man. So
45-minute missions is kind of crazy, right?
Oh, man. That's absolutely insane.
Because people hear... they hear like 6 to 8 chapters thinking, oh, that's not that long. But
right.
You've been playing a one mission for 45 to an hour. It's just like in waves and waves of enemies.
You're just literally just fighting for your life. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm still going to pick that up too, man. That's definitely something that I want to play. Especially like, I like cause it's just giving me a lot of Mass Effect vibes. I don't know about you. Like, I'm not Dragon Age. Warhammer is giving me like, did I say Mass Effect? Gears of War. Oh my God, my brain is a potato today. Warhammer is giving me Gears of War vibes is what I meant to say. But yeah, man. So let's move on. EA, we're going to continue the EA talk here. So
let's go. EA episode.
They had a investor day presentation. I believe it was the 17th of September, which was essentially, it was kind of like, I guess you could say a mini showcase, but it was more focused on, I guess it was a little bit more business centric, and they mentioned Battlefield. And if you guys know me, man, like I'm a pretty big Battlefield fan. I've loved to play the series. It never, in my opinion, reached the heights that Call of Duty did, of course, but Battlefield still has like a pretty big community. And the last one that came out, I think it was like 3 years ago, 2042 came out, and it didn't do super well for them. And they've basically come out and said that they have 4 different studios working on this, and they're looking to get back to basics. They mentioned Battlefield 3 and 4 a couple of times, so I think they're going to kind of try to get back to that style of combat. And for me, man, like I'm glad to hear that. Once again, it looks like EA is really trying to figure their shit out with all of their franchises. And while I don't think we'll see this anytime soon, I just kind of hope that we get something that's fun to play, because Battlefield 1, not the first one, but the one that was like World War I that we played a lot like years ago, like that game is still fun to play. And, you know, I really hope to see them kind of get back to what made Battlefield fun. Like, I know we'll probably never get like a Bad Company sequel, a Bad Company 4 or nothing, but, you know, if we can get back to what, you know, made Battlefield fun, like the huge battles and stuff, like, I think that's what makes this series unique over something like Call of Duty, where you're in more kind of like arena style multiplayer matches. But, you know, Battlefield, you're playing essentially an entire city or countryside, and you're fighting like 50, 60 people. So
And see, that's where the problem with me, that's where the problem lies. Like, the game is chaotic fun, but at the same time, and this is coming from a person who's played it a lot, it's so much shit going on. Like, even if you look at this now, you know, to all the people who are watching, you know, our audio listeners, we're actually looking at the game as we talk about it. In hindsight, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, you look at this, it looks cool, but when you're playing it, it's like a whole different experience. Like,
you're in war. Like, it is chaos.
Yeah, and I don't know how to translate that, because the experience can go from fun to like, okay. Yeah. Especially when you keep dying out of nowhere or you're being sniped. Like, it's a lot going on. And I actually love them incorporating elements into the game, like the tornadoes and sandstorms. And
right.
I think that's one of the things that's going to set them apart from the other FPSs out there. But for some odd reason, it's hard for me to kind of get into it. I think I'm more of a small, more condensed shooter type of guy, like more of arena style, like of a Halo. And like I said, this could be your jam, but for me, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in if you play Battlefield, because it's all fun until you just start getting wrecked. Like, you don't even know what's going on. Objectives are going crazy. You get hit by a helicopter, ran over by an ATV. It's just like, a
guy on a horse with a sword's running at you. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then you gotta remember that one we was playing. You had the death train.
Oh my gosh, in the jungle. Oh my goodness, man.
Yeah, the death train coming, and all of a sudden you just keep randomly dying because the train is shooting you. Like, it's crazy. And I forgot who I used to play with. It was one of the guys on Twitter. I used to play with one of the homies on Twitter, a Twitter homie who was just in love with this shit.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely a place for Battlefield, right? They definitely have an audience who loves this chaos, but they have to like hone in on it and improve on the technical side of things, right? Because this game had a lot of multiplayer issues as far as lag, people disconnecting. It had a lot of server issues, and I think that's what they need to focus on, because the action and stuff is there. I think the maps are, considering how big they are and stuff, I do believe that the maps are fairly, you know, balanced to a certain degree, as much as you can balance a big ass map like this, right? But the tech issues is what was killing this game. And if they could focus on that and get everything running smoothly, especially at launch. This game was definitely one of those games that was like having a lot of issues during the launch and stuff like that. If they can hone in on that and get that done correctly, I believe this game's going to be okay. There's a place for Battlefield. There's a group of people who loves this game.
Yeah, it's just like stupid fun for me. Like, I know there's people who
just cut your mind off and go crash a helicopter into some
shit. You know, there's people, of course, who are like, I've seen some people make some crazy clips in this game. Like some people that are really good at this game, I respect you guys, because I don't know how the hell that people do it. Like, I just, like you said, I'm more of I just want to blow up some shit, you know, blow a wall out. Like the demolition and stuff, I think was the thing that really kind of put it over the top for me. And I hope they bring back like character classes, because in 2042 you didn't really have like different characters. You know, somebody could have been like a demolitionist, another guy could have been a sniper, or, you know, like you didn't really have that. And I think that's what was missing from 2042. Now I do want to ask you, because there's been a little bit of conversation about this. People are wondering if they're gonna make this game free to play, and I hope that they don't. And I know that we've talked a lot about that over the last couple of months, especially when it comes to first-person shooters, especially with what happened to Concord, and its alleged $400 million budget. I think this series is big enough to where it shouldn't have to worry about not. I don't think it wouldn't be successful if the game did come with a sticker tag, a price tag on it. But you have to kind of be careful, because if this game's out of the spotlight for too long, we possibly won't see this game this generation. I would be surprised if we did. Maybe at the tail end, we might see the next Battlefield game. But I
think they should stop coming out around Call of Duty time too.
And that was gonna be another thing. I think like they try to compete with COD is their biggest problem. Like, Call of Duty is a giant in the industry. It's not going anywhere. They've been releasing annual titles for damn near 20 years at this point. Like, you're not gonna compete with the likes of Call of Duty, and I think that's where Battlefield kind of tripped itself up when it started to try to compete with that audience for COD, and you just can't do that. I mean, yeah, they're both first-person military modern style shooters, but you're not, unless you're playing Warzone, you're not fighting against 50, 60 other people. You're just, Call of Duty is like 5 or 6 at a time. But I think Battlefield really has like that advantage over COD when it comes to like the destruction stuff, the physics, the vehicle stuff, and just like on screen, this gigantic fucking fire tornado essentially. Like, that kind of stuff is cool to me. Like, I just kind of want to play something that I could just like you said, turn your brain off, blow some shit up for a couple hours with the homies and call it a day. Like, I won't take this game super serious, but I hope that it does find another audience like where it can continue to thrive. And I mean, if anybody can do it right, EA will, hopefully. Like, they just, just like you said, they can't stumble out the gate. Hopefully don't have too many technical issues. Give this game time to develop like you did with Dragon Age. And, hopefully they'll have a winner on their hands. Like, I'm looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, and this is the one that came out, right?
This was the one that came out 3 years. This was the last one that came out, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember playing this.
We played a good bit of it, but it just wasn't. Just like you said, all the problems and stuff,
I stopped playing this one because it was having too many. I had too many connectivity problems with this.
Yeah,
game.
We were getting bounced off a lot. Me and Era tried to play it a bunch, but we could never like really finish a whole match. It was just always problems.
Yeah, it was bad at one point. It was really bad, and like I said, all the stuff that you see on the screen from this one, it just makes you wonder, like, if you get a well-refined game with the next one, I wonder what that looks like. That's gonna look crazy,
exactly,
especially on these new consoles. And like, man, it has the potential to really move the room. But what I would do is release it January. I probably would do like a January release. I would get it away from Call of Duty.
Yeah, 100%.
So, because I feel like January is fair enough to give people Call of Duty burnout, because you have that, because it drops November. Usually it drops like November,
late October, early November.
Early November. Then you have people playing all through the holidays, and people, because they got off work, they got off school. Everybody's grinding for Warzone, so they are grinding to unlock weapons. And
right,
I feel like around the end of January is when that fatigue kicks in and people start complaining about Call of Duty for whatever.
The cycle continues.
Yeah, so I feel like if you drop right about then and give them another FPS option, I feel like it'll help the game do better. Yeah. But that's just me. I'm not a professional analyst or whatever you want to call it, but I would drop my shit around the end of January.
I think you're spot on, man. Like, I agree with you. There's 12 months in a year, and I think, over the last couple of years, game companies are starting to kind of realize that they don't have to hit that holiday window to make a lot of money. I mean, you have more and more games starting to hit like that spring, that early, just like you said, late winter, early spring window. I mean, hell, look at what Capcom's been doing the last couple of years. They don't really drop games in the fall anymore. They're usually that spring to summer window, and they make all the money that they millions and millions of dollars every year, it seems like. So I agree with you. Whenever we see this, I hope it looks good. I hope it's fun. And just like I said, get it away from Call of Duty. Stop trying to compete with Call of Duty. You're not going to. Somebody tries to do it every year. If you're not GTA, or Mario. I would even say maybe Mario. Like, don't drop your game around Call of Duty. You kind of have to not do that. So
Yeah, it's almost like a Beyonce drop. Like
yeah,
nobody wants to drop when Beyonce drops. Like let that game have its own little area. No matter if Call of Duty is good or bad, it's still gonna move the room. People gonna be talking about it.
yeah.
So I would just say with this game, I promise you, I really do think they would definitely do better if they put it around the end of January, man. It'll give people options because I mean you could save up your money and pay the $60, $70. I do believe this game should come out as a $70 game.
Especially if
Um,
they put the
I
time to
don't think
develop
free
it.
to
Yeah,
play would do this game any justice because then you're gonna have to peddle microtransactions to kind of make that money back. And this
right.
is what people don't understand. I really, 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 especially with that tweet that you posted earlier about AAA gaming.
Mm,
Like, I want to stress, right? We're gonna have to pay some kind of way. Now, is there dirty transactions or a little aggressive microtransactions? Yes. Sometimes they do go too far. I get it. Like if you're charging $50, $60 for one skin, I understand the complaining about that. But what I want people to understand is the way that these games work, they're going to have to find a way to recoup this money. That means microtransactions, or they'll have DLC. There's going to be something extra that you're going to have to pay for. The $70 just not cutting it. Well, if you have a $70 game, it depends on how well it sells, right?
yeah,
But
true.
free to play is free to play. So they're going to have something in their game that they have to sell you to offset that free to play. So, I hear a lot of people complaining online and I don't even engage them anymore because I feel like a lot of people don't know the business side of gaming. And so I don't engage those people anymore, but I am okay with microtransactions. It's when they get shady is when I
I
have the
mean,
problem.
you kind of have to be nowadays, man. I mean, and for what reference to what DC's talking about, there's a PlayStation podcast called Sacred Symbols, and one of the hosts was talking about some things he heard from some people who worked on Concord,
Mm.
and I originally, just like I'm sure a lot of people did, thought that the budget of the game was north of $100 million, but it is alleged that it cost that game from production, marketing, and everything. That game was $400 million as far as an investment goes.
Yeesh.
And
Jesus.
you think about, that's such
Half
a
a bill
hard
almost.
number to wrap my head around. You think about
One game.
how much money that cost. That cost Sony $400 million because they did. They refunded everybody who purchased the game, and it's not online anymore. That's why people were saying, "Oh man, I don't think it's going to come back." I don't think Sony's going to give up $400 million without trying to make a profit out of that game. I think we'll see it again. It'll be free to play. It'll probably be different, some kind of something different to try to try to recoup some of that money, man. Like that is so much money. And then you hear reports about GTA being upwards of $1 billion. I believe it now. I absolutely
Yes.
believe it. like
Yes.
like there's no way GTA
People are
costs
pulling
less than
billions out
that.
of their ass now.
Yeah.
I remember you rarely heard the B word.
Yeah.
Like to hear $1 billion was like, oh my God, who's making that kind of money? Now it's like $1 billion, it's just being tossed around.
$1 billion is
Hell,
the
we
new
ain't even
million,
got a-
man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's damn near you hear the trillion word being thrown around now. Like it's like
It's nuts,
what?
man. Didn't they get Amazon to make it? No. So Concord was made by a studio that Sony acquired either last year or the year before called Firewalk Studios. And now people are looking at Herman Holst, who's the head of. Oh, didn't they make Concord a TV series? Well, it's a part of like this anthology series that they announced, which I think the irony on that is so off. Like it's good and it's bad at the same time because you can't ask them not to put it in the show, right? Like there's no way they're not gonna. There's no way they're gonna cut that out of the show. I would be shocked if they did. I mean, but at this point, like I think they're gonna try to. Maybe they're gonna take a wait and see approach, right? See how people react to the show, whatever is like if it's whatever episode it's gonna be, and see if people are kind of like receptive to it, Then I'm like, okay, maybe we do have something, because from what they were saying on the show on Sacred Symbols, this game was supposed to be their big thing. Like, this was supposed to be the thing for Sony for the next couple of years. And I mean, it just kind of fell flat in its face. And I don't blame Sony, because I mean, Microsoft owns Call of Duty now, and whether people want to admit that shit or not, they were making a lot of money off COD. Like, you can go look at the top 10 sales of PlayStation charts. Call of Duty's up, like, it's usually holding like 3 out of the 5 top spots. Like, it's every year. So, I'm under the impression that they don't want to deal as much with Microsoft. So they're probably looking for the next big multiplayer thing for them that they can kind of, this is ours. This is our thing, and I mean, but damn, man, like, I don't think, I kind of agree with you, man. I don't think Battlefield should be free. I just don't. It doesn't make sense for me. Because this is already an established series that, this isn't like a brand new IP. And I think that, it would do the game some good if it did, I know people are kind of, just like you said, people are kind of, turning their nose up at $70, but you got companies spending like $500 million on average for AAA games right now. Like, they got to make their money back. You guys want these nice games. People hate it when I say this shit. Gaming is not, it's not a cheap hobby. It never was. It never has been. Like, even back in the 90s, you're spending $300 on a console. That was a lot of money back then for the people who were alive back then. I know a lot of kids, they weren't, but.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's like, but it was the title of the tweet, right? It's been something that I've been yelling at people on Twitter about since the dawn of time, right? Like, AAA is, I put this tweet like last week. I said they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
They are.
Because these games are costing so much to make, but people complain when like, oh, they're $70. Oh, they should be $50. Oh, they should be like, it comes back to the conversation of entitled gamer. Like, dude, these games can't be $50, bro. I'm sorry. They can't.
They would have to sell like tens of millions of copies to make any money. Like, that's what people don't understand. It's a luxury. That's why we encourage you guys to check out indie games. Check out, some of the smaller studios that are making really cool projects. Yeah, it's not Battlefield, but just like Weenie mentioned, there was a Battlefield-like game called Enlisted. I do remember that game too, Weenie. I don't know, is it still active now? I don't know, like, what's going on with it now, but it sucks, but this is just kind of where we are. There's no going back. I don't know how they fix this shit. I don't, and it's worrisome, man. Like, it is. It truly, truly is. So, yeah, man, we'll see what EA has cooking, man. Like, I hope they continue to support the studios. It looks like they're like I said, they're starting to kind of course correct. And hopefully, we get back to the EA of old that people used to love, and not them getting that Golden Turd Award every year for worst company, which I think is funny. I don't even know if they still do that anymore,
shit.
But I've never.
We're gonna give them the turd, all right? That's ours. We the turd givers.
Yeah. So yeah, man, we'll see. We're gonna move on to the last topic of the day. Good old Nintendo, man. We don't talk about Nintendo a lot around here, but boy, oh boy.
But the mafia is here. All right? Nintendo Mafia, please raise your hand.
Yeah, they are here, and once again, they are
on somebody's ass.
They're on people's butt, man. Like, so for those guys who don't know what we're talking about, Nintendo has announced that they are suing Pocket Pair, the developer of Pal World, or Pokemon with Guns, as I like to call it. And I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. I can't say I'm surprised. We don't know the details of what exactly, because this isn't an IP infringement. A lot of people initially thought it was had something to do with a lot of their Pokemon or pals looking like Pokemon. It's not that.
Nintendo's too clever for that. Right.
So this is a patent infringement. We don't know exactly the details of what it is. But I mean, this is Nintendo's MO, man. Once again, we were talking before the podcast. There's 2 companies on Earth I would not want to even try to play with, and that's Disney and Nintendo. And For those of you guys who don't know, Pocket Pair is another Japanese company. They are much smaller. They're a small developer. I don't even think they have 100 developers. They could now with the success of Power World, but we don't know exactly. There's rumors that it could be because of the Pokeball like mechanic in PAL, because Nintendo, they copywrote they have a patent on the mechanics of the Pokeball and how it works, which I think is scummy. I do agree. I don't like their business practices either, but I mean, how many times do they have to do this to a company for companies and businesses to learn? I mean, look at Tim, right? Like Tim is still out there, still working, because I mean they use cards. They're not Pokeballs. But,
oh, remember that? Holy crap!
Tim has their cards. You're capturing with cards and not a ball, a sphere, if you will. So I don't know what's gonna come of this, man. There's a lot of speculation. They shut down another modder emulation company called Yuzu, which is a very popular Nintendo emulation company. They did essentially high def versions of Pokemon, of Legend of Zelda, but it was found that Yuzu was making money off of their product, which is a big no-no. And they didn't even try to fight it in court. They said, you know what, Nintendo, you're right, we'll shut down. We were wrong, and they owed Nintendo $2.4 million. So, it's awful, man. This was about par of the course. It usually takes Nintendo 8 months to a year before they kind of figure out what it is. Yeah, they're like the feds. They really
the feds. They just sit around and collect dirt and figure out how to pound your ass into the ground. I hate to see where this leaves Power World, because the short time that I played it, I did enjoy it. I was just about to ask you that. Playing it.
Yeah, I didn't play it at all. I was going to ask you, did you enjoy your time playing it?
No, it's an enjoyable game. It's a very enjoyable game. All the mechanics and stuff are cool as shit. I just think, I don't know, it's just one of those games, you're just playing a lot of shit, man. It doesn't speak bad on the game. I think I played this with Pink. I played with quite a few people and enjoyed it.
It definitely had a moment. It definitely had a big moment last year.
I think it has a big moment, and people are still playing it. People, my thing is this with people. If they don't see something, they just think automatically it fell off, and that's the internet talking.
Right.
And it's just because you don't see it on social media doesn't mean it fell off. The game, people are still playing it. They're still enjoying it. It's been updated. They've been pushing updates and stuff like that. But my concern is, after Nintendo pound that ass to the ground, it's hopefully they don't disappear off the face of the earth. I don't know where this is gonna. I don't know how this is gonna end for them. I don't know if we just see it disappear or.
Man, and then imagine if because a lot of people were screaming for Microsoft to buy this company. Imagine if they did, and then this shit happened.
Microsoft.
Oh man, imagine, bro. I couldn't even imagine the fallout this would have created between the two of those companies, because they're actually on pretty good terms, Nintendo and Microsoft. And I think that they either foresaw something like this possibly happening, or they just what?
I mean, it was quite obvious. Let's be real. Microsoft saw this shit and was we don't want no parts of it.
Yeah, they partnered with it and put it on Game Pass for a while, and then they were just yeah, that's probably as far as we're gonna go.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and step away from this.
Because I'm sure Microsoft. I mean, hell, Microsoft's lawyers aren't a slouch either. I mean, they just beat the U.S. government in the monopoly case, so they're no slouch either. But
you know what happened? Nintendo went over to Microsoft. Was hey, y'all might want to step away from that.
You don't want that. Don't get in the street beef, bro.
Don't ask no questions, bro.
I'm
just telling you might want to step away from that one. And Microsoft was say less.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna just take this off Game Pass, and we're gonna just walk over here and watch you get pounded to oblivion.
We gonna give y'all 1-on-1. We ain't gonna jump in. That's basically
1v1. No jumping. No jumping.
That's essentially what happened, man. It's unfortunate. I agree with you, man.
Hopefully they could bounce back, man, because Power World was a time. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I would actually like to revisit it. I'm not gonna lie. It looked like they added a whole bunch of new cool shit. So,
Yeah.
ugh.
And I agree with you, Winnie. Winnie in chat, he said that, they did patent that mechanic this year. I have a huge ethical. I think it's a ethical problem for game companies to patent mechanics. Most famously, Warner Brothers patented the Nemesis technology from Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, where an enemy you may have thought you killed comes back and he's stronger and has resistances to the things that you killed him with. Like, that would have been cool to see in other games, but you can't use it because they patented the technology and they're not doing anything with it. Like, that kind of stuff I think is a problem in the industry. And maybe I don't even know if governments or the governing, whatever the governing body over patents is, if they could stop something, like legally stop a company from doing that. Like, they're, as far as from what I've seen, I'm not any legal expert at all. I will say that outright. I don't think there was a way to legally stop a company from patenting some sort of mechanic in a game, which is unfortunate because then you lead to stuff like this. And I mean, Nintendo's a master at doing it. I mean, they sued another company this year. I actually came across, there was a Switch modder, like a Switch, like they were modding the hardware of the Switch. And
hell no.
And they sued them. They sued them in July, I think. And I'm pretty sure I know where that's gonna go. Like, they're gonna get sued until oblivion and then shut
guess
down.
What? You end up in Nintendo's basement.
Yeah.
With so many others.
With
you're
the rest,
down in a basement.
With the rest of the Goombas and stuff. Like, you're not, you're working for Mario and Bowser at that point. So, it's unfortunate. I think this is just gonna get drug out to the point where they're gonna settle. But the one thing I really don't see them winning on is because they said something. They released like an official press statement, and they said something about like damages. Like, I don't think you'll be able to convince any court that Power World made you lose money, especially on Pokemon. Like, even the terrible game that came out last year, the year before, still made y'all money. It was bad. I don't care what anyone says. It was a terrible game.
The game was bad, and I stand 10 toes down in a pile of shit.
Like, it was a terrible game.
That game was trash, okay? And I try to stop saying the word trash, I know. But it was bad. I just want y'all to admit.
Yeah, it was not good.
It's not the game that it could have been, okay? Let's just say that.
And I mean, and this is the reason why. I mean, because they don't feel pressured to improve upon, the formula that Pokemon has basically had for 20 some odd, 30 some odd years at this point. I mean, I grew up playing Pokemon. I, played a bunch of them up until about middle school and, kind of fell off after that. But I go back and I'll see trailers, I'll see people playing it, and I'm like, man, this looks like the same game I played as a kid. It doesn't look any different from, I mean, they don't really change anything, even from down to the difficulty of Pokemon. 'Cause Pokemon's not a hard game to beat. It's really not. It actually kind of holds your hand a lot of the time, but that's.
I always wanted to play one. They're crazy.
Fun.
I've never played a Pokemon.
If you've never played it, it's fun. I'll give you that. It is fun to play. A lot of people love. If talking about like the later games, I think Black and White were pretty popular. I can't really tell you any of the newer ones because they just don't look great to me. But if you're interested, you check them out. I mean, you might surprise yourself and enjoy it. I think it's fun to play, but I mean, here we are once again. Like, quit playing with Nintendo, man. At the end of the day, stop flying close to the sun. Like, if they should have known what they were getting themselves into, and I feel bad for them. But how many more examples of this stuff do we need to see for companies to just know when to stop, like to stop? So we'll as this kind of goes on and evolves. We'll update as we get more information. Like I said, nobody knows exactly what they're suing them over yet. We just know it's a patent lawsuit and it was filed in Japan. So this is not a U.S. court case. So we'll see. We'll see.
God bless any man who goes against the mafia. The Nintendo mafia will strike you down like a.
They have a CEO. His name is Doug Bowser. Let's just sink that shit. Let that sink in for us. His name is.
He
Doug
walks around
Bowser.
with a turtle shell with spikes on it.
I'm not. I'm not convinced he's not. He had to be a plant. There's no way he's a real, like, his name was Bowser. He grew up and loved Nintendo so much he became CEO. That's not a real story to me. That sounds fake. I don't know.
Weenie, look.
You hope Nintendo loses?
Hey, don't say that out loud. We ain't trying to end up in a basement.
Hey, man, we love Nintendo here, man. I don't know what you mean, Winnie.
We're biased. So, yeah, this whole stream is sponsored by Nintendo.
Yeah,
right?
I love Mario.
I'm afraid for my life, don't you? Matter of fact, hey, you go ahead and erase that up out of chat.
While you're bullshitting, they have sent cease and desist to content creators before. They have. It is not an uncommon thing. That's all I'm going to say. I've seen plenty of YouTube channels disappear because of Nintendo. So,
well, Weenie, you trying to destroy the house that we worked so hard to build? And you part of that house. You helped us build the house.
Weenie loves Nintendo, guys. Don't worry. He loves it.
He does.
He's a Nintendo fan. He's just kidding.
He's big Nintendo. We call him Big 10. That's what we call him.
So yeah, man, I really do hope the best for Power World though and Pocket Pair, man. I hope they figure something out and come to a amicable resolution, between all parties.
I don't want to see it go away. I don't.
Nah,
I want Power World to stay around.
Because then they'll keep making bad Pokemon games. So yeah.
Ooh, hey man, quit talking. Y'all keep messing with Nintendo. We gonna end up in the basement.
Just bleep that out. Just bleep it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit that out. I don't want to go in the basement.
Oh man. But yeah, man. That's pretty much it, man. That's the end of episode 205, man. Next week, guys. So as far as like the next couple of weeks, so you guys know there are quite a few games coming out over the next couple of months. We also have the Tokyo Game Show next year, man. Next week, excuse me, not next year. We have a Tokyo Game Show next week. I'm very, very excited about that. We don't cover it a lot typically, but I do kind of want to dive in and see what comes as far as like announcements and everything, because Sony's going to be there, which is actually pretty interesting. First show they've been to in a while. So I'm hoping we get some cool announcements, maybe to make that $700 price tag worthwhile for some people. I don't know.
Because they already seem to forgot about it with that anniversary.
Oh man, the color gray make you don't see that $700. I guess I don't know, man.
Nope, nobody's complaining anymore. Oh, I gotta get the anniversary even. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are we gonna highlight any indies today? I mean, I could save this.
Yeah, I don't have any new ones or anything.
Okay, we can save it to next week.
Okay,
that's fine.
Right.
We don't have to do it every episode, but I do want to make it a thing.
Maybe if we start off talking about them in the beginning, and that way I think we can. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But yeah, we also are working on getting some more guests before the end of the year. We do have hopefully one returning guest soon. Just trying to work with him to figure out his weekend schedule. Because as you guys know, we all have to work to live and eat, unfortunately.
And have families.
And yeah, and people have families. So we'll keep you guys updated on all that. But I'm excited, man. Maybe we'll pick another game out this year to do like a episode special. We haven't done one of those, like a deep dive, in a while. So it might be time for us to bring that back, on a new game or something. But
I feel it.
Yeah.
I'll see.
That's it, man. Thank you guys for hanging out once again for episode 205. Another great episode. I'm glad that the audio didn't explode and everything's working, hopefully, on the
Windows
recording.
11, yeah.
Yeah. Just fix my Xbox app so I can play my Game Pass games. But I don't really have much, man. I appreciate you guys for all your support. As always, man, we love that y'all are here. If you guys listen to the audio version, please show up to the live, because we do this every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And also make sure you guys check out the Super Weapon YouTube, because we still are uploading there. We will get the podcast platforms fixed this week. I was talking to DC about that. We hate Anchor. I hate Anchor. I'm just be honest with you. I might look at a different platform or something. It might be time to do something different.
Why? Things be working so perfect. Then I guess Spotify bought Anchor, and it did,
and it's made it difficult to upload stuff. So we'll get that figured out, man. I'm actually been looking at a couple of different platforms that we could use. So we'll talk about that later. But that's it, man. I ain't got anything else, man. Thank you guys for hanging out. You can find me everywhere. Darius the Artist, Twitter, Darius the Artist, where E is a 3. DC, take us home.
Yes. What a rush. All right. Well, your boy might be making a triumphant temporary return to streaming. But curiosity has gotten the cat. So I might be trying a different platform for my temporary GTA RP streams. I've been toying around with some things that if I can get some things going in GTA RP, I would like to start making a few clips, make a little channel. But it's a lot of gears and a lot of cogs that's moving around that just makes me want to scream. But I always want to add a little extra flavor and a little extra entertainment value to what we're already doing with the Super Weapon podcast, just to give you guys a little bit of extra sauce and welcome you into my world. But you'll see what's coming up soon. It'll be on the way. I'm sounding exhausted because I am, because life has been whooping my ass. All right.
Life be lifing, man.
Life be lifing, man. We be trying to do what we can do, how we can do it, but we're gonna make it happen. We are here to talk about video games and the culture of video games and all that is geekdom. So just stay tuned, man. We just throw random stuff out, and hey, hope you guys enjoy it. We are also working to have the DOBZ back on the show, because I really do want to talk to him about his YouTube journey. BZ has definitely skyrocketed. He's doing amazing numbers and amazing things over at YouTube. So we do want to chop it up with him, and he drops all kind of tutorials and helpful things for YouTube. So go check him out. We'll have the link in the description for this episode. And I think that's all I have, man. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful, blessed Saturday.
And we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace. You.